What's going on YouTube? It is Just My Opinion, and today I will be reviewing Mac Miller's Swimming. Mac Miller, the Pittsburgh rapper who had a lot of buzz as a frat rapper in the early portions of his career, had an incredible evolution as an artist, but unfortunately a tragic evolution as a man, as last year he had an accidental overdose and died. Now, this review is going to be different from a lot of my reviews that I have done. Normally, I go song by song, go over what I like, what I don't like, give the album an overall rating at the end of the video, but I wanted this video to be different and special. In my very first video that I ever posted on this channel, I discussed a little bit about me and my personal struggles with anxiety and panic attacks and mental health. It all started a few years ago, 3 years ago now, on vacation. I had a random panic attack out of nowhere. All of a sudden, my body just started trembling everywhere. I felt like I couldn't move. I felt dizzy. And I had this weird sensation. It's very hard to describe if you haven't gone through it. It feels like everything's kind of caving in on you. And I've been having these on and off sensations since that moment. Had my good days, had my bad days. About a month after it happened, and I was still kind of experiencing these feelings every once in a while. Went and got a bunch of blood work done, a bunch of other different tests, all came back fine. So I was physically okay, which made me feel good in that aspect, but I still knew something was wrong. I did not feel right. I did not feel like myself. After going through, doing a bunch of research, realized that I was going through what is known as derealization and depersonalization, and these feelings have affected my ability to focus at work, my ability to travel, go through new life experiences, meet new people that I would like to meet, be able to hold a relationship the way that I would want to. Now you're probably wondering, what does all this have to do with Mac Miller? Well, Mac Miller was somebody whose music I always enjoyed, even before my struggles with anxiety and panic attacks, dating back to his earlier portion of his career with his mixtapes K.I.D.S and Best Day Ever. But it was who he was as a person that I was beginning to become more intrigued by the more that he developed as an artist. No matter what, he seemed to always be having a smile on his face, loving life, while always trying to make everybody else feel special. And you could tell that this is prevalent by the way that when he passed away, anybody and everybody within the music industry came out, was posting photos of them and Mac Miller together, videos, just whatever it is, sharing stories about how he helped in some way with their career. And to me, that stuck. In addition, The Divine Feminine was one of the first albums in which I reviewed on this channel with a friend of mine. And I began this channel during kind of my peak as far as my anxiety symptoms, and I wanted to put out this channel to kind of help relieve some of my anxiety and cope with my anxiety symptoms. But perhaps Mac's biggest strength and flaw as a person was that at the end of the day, he was human. Even though way back in 2011, his debut studio album Blue Slide Park became the first ever album, independent album, to debut at #1 on Billboard, it basically got shit on by almost any and every critic, music critic in the industry. And this is when we started to see Mac using more and more drugs as a coping mechanism to the harsh criticisms and just the dealing with the pressures of becoming famous. He tried keeping this a secret for the longest time from his family, his friends, fans, the media in general, pretty much trying to make it so that everybody assumed that he was fine. But I'm going to take this from a video in which I saw last year. This was a video done by Tabby, very well done video by Tabby, fellow YouTuber. A selfish person normally battles and struggles externally. They often neglect others and push other people away for their own personal interests, and they oftentimes don't even realize that. But what I feel like I connect with, and what Mac Miller also connected with as well, is selflessness, which, although is the complete opposite of being selfish, can be just as deadly and toxic. A selfless person will often struggle internally because they will be so worried about helping and pleasing other people in their lives, putting other people's before ultimately who should be the number one person in their life, and that is themselves. And they oftentimes do not even realize that as well, which is fucked up. It's fucked up. Now, when this album first came out, this was last year, and it came out actually the same week as Astroworld, which is a super hyped album. I still attest to this day, even when the album first came out and before Mac's unfortunate passing, that I thought Mac's album was pretty much right on par with Travis Scott's Astroworld. On all fronts, the production was great on the album. A lot of nice, catchy songs on there. Just overall amazing growth on all fronts for Mac Miller musically with this album. But the more and more I was listening, and the more and more I was watching Tabby's review of the album, the more I realized that the reason why this album is very special is because it's a great overview as far as a person who struggles with anxiety, with substance abuse, and mental health instability, and being able to progress and move forward past all this. Come Back to Earth, a great opener, kind of really introducing what it really means to live with anxiety, with mental health issues. Oftentimes you feel trapped within your own mind and you're living within your own thoughts, your own regrets. With this song, he's really trying to break free from those thoughts, from those regrets, and just kind of be in the moment. With his song Her Feelings, he talks about all of his successes and everything that he's gained and accomplished just by being himself, but I feel like with this song, he does a little bit of hiding behind those successes, hiding his actual feelings of pain and regret towards some of the decisions that he's made in his life as a whole. Then we have songs like What's the Use and Jet Fuel, which are pretty much all about his ability or inability to maintain sobriety. And on the song Perfecto is where we really see the darkest moment of the album, him kind of trying to fake to others that he is fine when in reality he is really, really struggling internally and is going through almost this inescapable cycle internally, which is definitely how one will feel, and I can relate to as far as dealing with anxiety, feeling like it's an inescapable cycle. When you think things are finally going great, boom, your anxiety hits you again, things happen, and you just keep repeating this cycle that you just can't get out of. We then get Self-Care, which is a turning point in the album, in which he kind of motivates himself to kind of get out of this oblivion state in mind in which he's been in, kind of to push through and give himself self-care, which is, I think, something he really needed more of as a person. And I feel like a lot of people who deal with these issues really need more of. Find any sort of way to be able to really improve upon yourself, which is what he begins to talk about in the next 3 songs on the project, Wings, Ladders, and Small Worlds, talking about pushing forward, reflecting back on his own personal flaws and learning to accept his flaws, the ability to not take for granted, although time moves very quickly, we all go through the slow process of becoming the person that we want to be in life, and not taking that process for granted, no matter how quickly or slowly it seems to move by. And the song Ladders is really a metaphor towards life. You have this ladder that you want to climb towards life to get to where you want to be, but at the same time, in order to get you where you want to be, you have to overcome your fears of being afraid to fall. And on the song Conversations, although he's really kind of speaking from an outsider's point of view towards Mac Miller, the whole song is very interesting because it's all about Mac Miller kind of beating himself up and talking himself down, because a lot of people who deal with these issues oftentimes do it to themselves. They beat themselves down, they talk themselves down, and it's definitely something that I could relate to as well. And then we get the song 2009, which I think is one of the more personal songs in which Mac has ever put out, and definitely one of my favorites on the album, in which is a real reflection for Mac Miller, pretty much realizing that he's never going to be able to go back to a time like 2009, before the fame happened, before the success, before everything kind of spiraled around him. He can never go back to a time that was simpler in his life. He has to learn that, he has to accept that, and he just has to keep going forward and keep swimming as a human being. So in conclusion, rest in peace, Mac Miller. Thank you for being nothing but yourself, and your music and spirit will always remain with us. And it'll now also be a permanent fixture on me as well, as I just recently got my first tattoo, which is of your last photograph when you were alive. The full post you could see on my Instagram, which I will link below. And I also will link below a video to Tabby's review of the album, in which I thought really helped me out during times of struggle. To anybody else who struggles with mental health issues out there as well, I say to not be afraid to share your stories. I also encourage you to share your stories with others, and just know that you're not alone, and that I hope that by making this video and by you watching it, that I was able to at least make one person remember to just keep swimming. Remember, this is just my opinion. Rest in peace, Mac Miller.